Howdy, San Angelo. Great to be back again, as Drew was talking about moments ago, to show you how important we think San Angelo is. The fabulous First Lady of the great state of Texas was here last week. I'm here this week because we care about San Angelo and its future, and we will keep fighting for the folks of San Angelo, Texas. So we got Congressman Pfluger here, and listen, I got some great news for Congressman Pfluger, because I'm going to tell you here and now what's going to happen in this election in 2020. In this election in 2020, we are going to win up and down the ballot across the entire state of Texas. And in doing so, we will even add Republicans to the congressional delegation of the United States doing Texas's part to make sure that we fire Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. It's going to be great to have August Pfluger there, someone who can do what needs to be done. And that is to commence the investigations against Secretary Mayorkas as well as President Biden himself for their refusal to step up and follow the laws passed by Congress to secure our border. They must be held accountable. So let me tell you why I can so easily predict that we're going to be winning races up and down the ballot. We're going to do the most simple, straightforward thing that needs to be done. Republicans are going to show the contrast between our values versus the values and policies that the Democrats stand for. And candidly, it's never been easier than before. You know, there was a time when they were Democrats and they campaigned as Democrats, and then they became liberals and progressives, and now they tell you who they really are. They are socialists. They are governing as socialists. They are advancing socialistic policy. Let me tell you something. I know the people in San Angelo join with me in saying that we will not let big government socialists take over and destroy the great state of Texas. Let me just give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about, some that really hit home right here in the greater San Angelo area. One is, if you look at what Republican leadership in the state of Texas has been able to achieve, together we have made Texas an economic juggernaut. Texas, every year that I've been governor, has been ranked the #1 state for doing business of all the states in the United States of America. Texas has been ranked #1 as the leading state in America for the most new economic development projects. And very importantly for the people of San Angelo, Texas also ranks the #1 state in America as the best state to start a small business. When you add it all up together, there's two very important metrics, and that is, when you see all of the jobs created here, when you see the economy growing here the way that it is, Texas now has the 9th largest economy in the entire world. But more important for people of San Angelo as well as across the state, I'm proud to tell you, as we gather in San Angelo today, more Texans have jobs than ever before in the history of our great state. Now, the reason why this is so important, and to show you the contrast, just look at the types of policies that the radical leftist agenda like Beto O'Rourke stands for, and that is imposing the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal that would crush energy jobs in the state of Texas that employ over 1 million people in the state, including many people around the greater San Angelo area. By the way, the energy jobs made America energy independent. I am running for re-election to make sure we protect those high-paying energy jobs in the great state of Texas. But listen, when you look at this radical leftist agenda and their socialistic ideas, it goes far beyond just economic-based issues. One of the most insidious things they're doing is using their radical leftist agenda to indoctrinate our kids in our schools. You know, the purpose of schools is to educate our children. And what we see these radical leftists doing, they are imposing policies that try to indoctrinate our children. And that's completely wrong. And one of the ways that we see that occurring is with the use of critical race theory in our schools. Now, if you don't know what critical race theory involves, it involves using these teachings that try to rewrite the past of the United States of America. By the way, they're trying to rewrite the past of what we all agree is the greatest country in the history of the entire world. But worse than that, they're trying to redesign the future of our state and the future of our country. And then it may be even worse than that. What critical race theory does is it divides people along the lines of race and then pits them against each other to fight against each other. And it's contrary not only to our Constitution, but contrary also to what Martin Luther King Jr. himself taught us, and that is we're to be judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. That is what Texas stands for. So this critical race theory is something that you would think, well, that may happen in California or it could happen in New York or one of these other leftist states. It's not the kind of thing that would happen here in Texas. And candidly, I cannot tell you for a fact that I have known that it has existed in San Angelo schools. However, I was shocked to learn during this past legislative session that critical race theory was being used not only in Texas schools, but was even being used in elementary schools in the state of Texas. And that's why during the regular session and during the special session, they passed, with Drew Darby and others, they passed 2 laws that I signed that eliminates the use of critical race theory in every subject, in every grade, in every public school in the entire state of Texas, so that Texas now has the strongest ban on the teaching or use of critical race theory of any state in the United States of America. Listen, our public schools are incredibly important. I went to public schools my entire life, right here in the great state of Texas. And as governor, I provided more resources to public schools than any other governor. But we need to understand this. At the end of the day, we've got to recognize that there is no government program that can replace the role that parents play when it comes to the education of our children. And that is why I am campaigning to advance a parental bill of rights that will restore parents as the primary decision maker for their child's education and health care needs. Parents matter. Well, as insidious as it is that these radical leftists are trying to use things like critical race theory to indoctrinate our kids, there's something else they're doing that is even more dangerous. It's dangerous to public safety. It's dangerous to our communities. And that is what you've seen in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Seattle and Portland and Chicago and New York. And that is a de-emphasizing of police, including a defunding of police. Wherever you have seen defunding or de-emphasizing the important role that law enforcement plays, you've seen an increase in crime and an increase in murder rates. And again, here again, is this the kind of thing that you think, well, that's going to happen maybe in leftist California, but not in the state of Texas. But even in Texas, there's always one city that goes its own way. And that one city is Austin, Texas. And so in Austin, Texas, they defunded police by more than $100 million, and the result was very predictable. This past year, Austin had the highest number of murders they've ever had in the history of the city. So we worked with Drew Darby and others, and we understood that, by God, in Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, and we will not allow them to be defunded. And that's why we passed a law that will defund any city that defunds police. Now, as Drew Darby knows, after a governor signs a law, it takes a couple of months for it to go into effect. And after I signed the law that defunds cities that defund police, I had so much fun watching the city of Austin scramble to come up with the more than $100 million they had to come up with to fully refund their police. They did it. That shows that this law works, to show that we are not going to have any city in the state of Texas that defunds our police. Listen, as dangerous as defunding police is to safety in our communities, there's actually another policy that's promoted by the Biden administration and supported by Beto that's even far more dangerous than that. and that is these radical leftists, reckless open border policies that the Biden administration has imposed on the United States of America, where the president has completely abandoned his responsibility to enforce the laws passed by Congress. And as a result, we've seen an all-time record high in the number of people who are coming across the border illegally. And candidly, it did not have to happen, because it was only 15 months ago when we had the lowest number of border crossings in decades under the Trump administration. And there were four very simple reasons why we had that low number of border crossings. One was the Remain in Mexico policy. Two was the Title 42 policy. Three was the End to Catch and Release. And four was to build that border wall. Those four things by the Trump administration led to that dramatic decrease in illegal immigration. Now, under the Biden administration, not only are they not enforcing the laws, but they've sent a message across the entire globe that anybody from anywhere across the globe can come into the United States of America illegally. And they have from more than 150 different countries across the globe, including, I might add, very interestingly, in all the news that's going on today, over the past 2 weeks, there have been 15 people apprehended coming across the Texas border from Russia. I tell you what, if the president is so focused on this border between Russia and Ukraine, he should be focused on the border between the United States of America and Mexico. Because he has failed in his job, Texas has stepped up. And I'm proud to tell you that Texas has done more than any state in the history of the United States of America to secure our border. With the help of Representative Darby and others, we put together a package of about $3.5 billion for Texas to secure the border. That includes adding 10,000 National Guard who are serving on the border as we gather in San Angelo today. Give it up for the great members of the Texas National Guard and what they were doing to secure our border. They're working alongside with more than 1,000 Texas Department of Public Safety officers, and they are arresting people who are coming across the border illegally. They are cracking down on the smugglers, on the human traffickers, and the importers of fentanyl. If you don't know what's going on with fentanyl, you need to know. Fentanyl is, on the street, the most deadly drug that exists in the United States of America right now. It comes from China, and then across the border through Mexico. And 2 milligrams of fentanyl is a deadly dose. 2 little pieces as small as a grain of salt is a deadly dose. And Texas law enforcement over the past year have seized more fentanyl than is needed to kill every man, woman, and child in Texas, California, New York, Illinois, and Florida combined. This is deadly, it's dangerous, and President Biden has not talked about it or done anything to stop the importation of fentanyl across the border. The only people who have done anything about it are the people of the great state of Texas that are trying to stop the importation of fentanyl into our country. And on top of all that, Texas is now building our own border wall to secure our state. So let me tell you about this, because not only are we building the wall, but we are doing it at a pace faster and at a cost lower than what Trump was able to do. And let me explain to you why. First, it was just last June that I signed the paperwork to begin building the border wall. And just 6 months later, that wall began to go up in December. And we were able to move faster because we didn't have to do what President Trump had to do, which was to go through the process of acquiring land, using things like eminent domain to acquire that land, and having to spend all the money to acquire the land. We didn't have to do that for 2 reasons. One, part of the land that we are using to build a border wall on is land that is owned by the state of Texas. And of course, the state of Texas is allowing it to be put up. But then on top of that, when Trump was having to acquire that land from others, he had to go through the process of suing them to get it because they didn't want to give it to him. Now the people who own these vast stretches of land on the border, they were so angry about the Biden administration because of the devastating chaos that it's caused on their property and in their communities. They are allowing Texas to use that land for a mere easement for us to put the wall up on their land. And so we're using the same contractors. The same wall is more than 30 feet tall, and it comes in segments that are about 10 yards wide. If you look at these two columns right here, a panel of the wall is about the width of these two columns, and we put panel after panel after panel up. And then we had an event happen just recently where we got a whole lot more panels. You may recall that after Trump left office, and when Biden took over his office, there were a lot of materials left behind by the Trump administration of border wall. The Biden administration was doing nothing about whatsoever, just leaving it on the ground. We found a legal way that we could acquire those materials from the federal government, and we were able to acquire 1,700 of those panels without having to pay for it whatsoever. And the only thing that stopped us is Joe Biden finally figured out what we were doing and shut it down. But I'm proud to tell you that the panels that he had left behind and was doing nothing with are now up and securing our state from people crossing illegally. Listen, as important as public safety is, and as important it is for you all to realize that public safety is on the ballot this election, there's something even more important that's on the ballot this election. And if you had to distill your thought process, if you had to distill your ideology of the people here in San Angelo into one single word about what you stand for, what you believe in, what you think Texas stands for, I think that one word would be freedom. And you need to understand that freedom itself is on the ballot. Now, when you think about your freedoms, perhaps you may think about what's in the United States Constitution, like the First Amendment, and your freedom of speech and your freedom of religion. And so think about this. Beto, you may or may not know, but Beto proposed eliminating the tax-exempt status of churches that refuse to bow down to the woke left agenda. I will not let that happen in the great state of Texas. To the contrary, Drew Darby and his team passed and I signed a law that will prevent any public official at any level from ever closing down churches in Texas, denying your right to go to church and worship God Almighty. And then you all know what comes after the First Amendment. It's the Second Amendment. And you know exactly what Beto said about your Second Amendment rights. He's going to come confiscate your guns and take them away. Exactly. I don't think he's ever met people in San Angelo, Texas. Because there ain't no way he's coming to get your guns. But don't worry about it, because I have signed 20 laws that protect your Second Amendment rights, including a law that makes Texas a constitutional carry state and a law that makes Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state. So let me close down by making two quick points. One is to go back to one thing that Drew Darby was talking about. And that is the importance of people in San Angelo going out to vote. Definitely making sure that you vote on Tuesday. So let me ask this. Let's see by a show of hands, how many people have already voted? Many of you, most of you. And if you have not voted, it is absolutely essential that you go vote tomorrow. But just as essential is that you go vote in November. Understand this fact. And that is, when you look at these statewide elections in particular, there's going to be an outsized impact by cities across Texas that are going to vote Democrat. I'm going to start out behind. When you look at the votes in Dallas, in Houston, in Austin, San Antonio, and El Paso, those are votes that are going to be cast that support this socialistic ideological agenda. Those are positions and policies that are contrary to your values. And if you stay at home this November, if you do not vote, if you do not get others to go vote, you risk compromising the values that you believe in right here in San Angelo, Texas, and the values you believe in can quickly be overrun if you ever have anybody like Beto as your governor. And thinking about it this way, everybody in this room here today I think, shares in this common sentiment, and that is we all agree that America is the greatest country in the history of the entire world. And I'm going to venture to guess that as much as you think that that America is the greatest country in the history of the world, there may be some of you here today who even believe Texas may be even better. But here's the important point that I must leave you with, and that is, as much as you love America, as much as you love Texas, you need to understand that there are people running for office this election. There are people running for governor this election who do not share your feelings about America. They don't think that America, the way that it's been, is as great as you think it is. And their goal is to redesign the future of America, as well as redesign the future of Texas along the lines of their socialistic ideology. And you know what? We are not going to let that happen in this election. We're going to turn out a big vote in San Angelo and across the state, and we're going to do what needs to be done to make sure that together we keep Texas the best state in the history of the greatest country in the history of the world. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.
A word from the Lord, Governor Abbott, and all those that are here. This is very, very important. This name, the City of Angels, was not given by man, but by me, says the Lord. And you, the citizens, will return to me. You will raise up as sons and daughters of your God in heaven, and you will fulfill the call I have given you. The enemy has deceived and distorted my truth, but he has caused division among you and built walls. I will tear down these walls, and there will be no division among my people. Governor Abbott, this is especially for you. I want you to hear the word of the Lord. There are those who say this cannot happen, but they don't see clearly. I will bring a move, an outpouring so great that even those with cloudy vision will see my glory and know that it is I, the Lord, who have come to do this thing in this city. I have spoken a word and am now am going to perform it. Look, I'm already assembling those who can see. My body is beginning to come together and will soon rise up in victory. Then this land will be reclaimed for my kingdom. You, my people, must come together as this great army for the kingdom. The angels your city was named for are waiting for my command to return to their assigned post. As you join in unity, I will release them to their assignments. This region has been a dry place, but I've intended it for it to be an oasis, a great place of refreshing. Have I not said, if the people who are called by my name will humble themselves and repent not only for their sin, but for the sin of this city, then I will hear them and I will heal their land. This you know, but have not come together for this city of angels. I am ready to now pour out my spirit on this city and region. You must be ready to respond to my call in this hour. This place will be as a magnet. Many will come seeking the power and the glory they have heard about. Many witnesses will go out from this place proclaiming my glory and the kingdom that has come. This oasis will provide life to all who receive it. A great many people will come to receive then. I will send my reviving fire that will leave no one untouched. There will be men and women of great prominence to come to the city, not to bring a word, but to receive from me. This will be a strange occurrence to some, but I have said I will use the simple things to confound the wise. I will do this in a place that is unheralded and a people unrecognized. My glory will arise, and you, my body, in this city will be resurrected. Of this thing I have done will go out into all the nations and even the world. Many have wondered why all the new construction is going on here. It seems like it's not needed. Soon more people will come and the need will be even greater. And what is built will now not even be enough. There won't be enough housing, enough places to eat, but I will supply the needs. I will bless this city and unify and praise the honor and the kingdom of the coming King. Blessings will flow from the oasis Healing is in the living water of the river flowing out of it. You are this city. Truly there is city of Angelo. Whom we and God have ordained from the beginning, says the Lord. This is you, Dr. Abbott. God bless
Thank you so
Thank
much. God
for
bless you
being here.
too. So listen, if you listen to what she said, it can be distilled down into one fundamental concept, and that is God, if we allow it, works through each of us for His greater good. The reason why I want to emphasize this is that I've been through this experience myself because you remember Drew Darby talked about when I was Attorney General. When I was Attorney General, there was a time when there was a monument that was on the Texas Capitol grounds that stands 10 feet high. And on that monument was etched into it the 10 Commandments. And we have it on the Texas Capitol grounds as a monument of the role that things like the 10 Commandments have played in the shaping of Texas itself. And there was an atheist walking across the Texas Capitol grounds and asking a federal court to tear down that monument. And that case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. I argued that case on Texas Independence Day, and we won that case, and the Texas 10 Commandments monument still stands on the Texas Capitol grounds, showing everybody about the historic connection between the role God played in the great state of Texas. Everyone can have God work through you for His greater good and for the greater good of our great state. God bless you all.